Hey guys, welcome back to our Pearl Lemon YouTube channel. So in today's video, we are going to be discussing lodger agreements. So without further ado, let's get into it. So first things first, what is a lodger agreement? So a lodger agreement can be described as a legal document that outlines the terms and conditions between a homeowner, which is the landlord, and someone living in their property, which is referred to as the lodger. So it's basically like a rule book for your shared living arrangement. Number two, what is a lodger agreement used for? So basically, a lodger agreement is essential when someone wants to rent a room or part of your property while you also reside there. So it's not necessary if they rent out the entire house or apartment. And coming to our next point, why is a lodger agreement important? So this document basically protects both parties. It helps avoid misunderstandings and potential conflicts by clearly outlining everyone's rights and responsibilities. So now that we know what a lodger agreement is, the purpose of the lodger agreement and the importance thereof, let's now get into the essential elements that every lodger agreement ought to have. So number one, it must contain a segment for parties. So in this segment, you need to include the names and addresses of both parties. This ensures for clear identification of both parties involved and allows for easy communication. You also need to include phone numbers and email addresses for easy communication. And if the landlord is a company or a representative of an estate, that legal status should be clearly stated. Number two, it should include a segment for premises. So in this segment, you need to clearly define the specific room or area that the lodger will occupy. You also need to include any shared spaces. Remember guys, a lodger agreement is when someone occupies a room in your house. So it's not the entire house that they're renting out. So it's a specific room or specific section. So it's very important to clearly define the specific room or area that the lodger will occupy. You also need to specify any areas of the property that the lodger is not allowed to access. And you need to indicate whether the room comes furnished or unfurnished. Number three, it should contain a segment for term. So in this segment, you need to clearly define the exact duration of the agreement and, if applicable, outline the conditions for renewal. And in terms of a termination clause, you need to specify the process and notice period for either party to terminate early. Number three, it needs to contain a segment for rent. So in this segment, you need to state the agreed upon monthly rent. You need to specify the due date and method of rent. You also need to outline any penalties for late rental payments. Number five, it should also contain a segment for deposits. So here you need to specify the amount and purpose of the security deposit and the conditions under which it will be returned. And if applicable, you need to specify the amount and purpose of the damage deposit and the process of assessing and deducting damages. Number six, it should also contain a segment for utilities. So in this segment, guys, you need to specify whether utilities will be shared or individually billed. If utilities are shared, you need to define how the cost will be divided between the landlord and the lodger, and you need to determine who is responsible for paying the utility bills. Number seven, it should also contain a guest policy, which is very important because in this segment, you need to define the rules regarding overnight guests. You also need to include frequency and duration of those guests. You also need to specify any limitations or restrictions on visitors and outline the expectations for guest behavior within the property. Number 8. It should also contain a segment for responsibilities. So here, you as the landlord need to define your obligations regarding maintenance, repairs, and access to the property or to the specific room. You also need to outline the lodger's obligations regarding maintaining the property, cleaning shared spaces, respecting noise levels, which is very important, and disposing of waste. Number 9. It should also contain a section for termination. So in the termination clause, you need to specify the reasons under which or either party can terminate the agreement. You need to define the required notice period for terminating the agreement early, and you need to outline the steps involved in terminating the agreement, including returning of keys and settling outstanding payments. And number 10, and lastly, you need to include a segment for signatures. So in the segment, both the landlord and the lodger must sign and date the agreement. Witnesses are not mandatory, but having them can add further validation to the agreement. And you need to also ensure that you have a copy of the signed agreement for both parties. So here you have it, guys, 10 essential elements that every lodger agreement ought to have. So remember, guys, a lodger agreement is a valuable tool for ensuring a smooth and peaceful living arrangement. Therefore, by having everything clearly documented, you can avoid potential disputes and build a positive relationship with your lodger. So thank you all for watching. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more legal tips and advice. So till our next video, bye.